Holidays are special to everyone around the world because they are what you make of them. We asked 9 members of our Shir HaMa'alot community what they do to make the high holidays their own, with a special emphasis on the food that brings us all together.
What about the high holy day stands out to you?
Well, I grew up as a daughter of a rabbi, so the high holy days were always the most important time of the year for us. Very busy time of the year. Not necessarily an easy time of the year for us because my dad worked around the clock and he would start preparing his sermons in the summer, high holiday sermons. But it was a great time for us to commemorate our religion and new beginnings.
I remember the first few years when I moved to the U.S., I was very sad around the holiday because we didn't figure out how we celebrated yet, and we didn't have a tradition. And I decided that I'm going to change that. And he came home, it was Rosh Hashanah, and he came home, and I made sure that I made a beautiful meal, and it was like quiet, and the house smelled like holiday. The table was set and stuff like this. And when he walked in, he said, "Wow, it feels like a holiday." And I said, "Bingo."
As a Jewish person, it means the world to me. It gives me the opportunity to really take a break from the year that has just passed and think about what I did wrong during that year and try and seek forgiveness for the people that I've hurt, from the people that I've hurt, and then at the same time to think about how to be a better person in the year to come. The other thing, as a rabbi, of course, it is, my dad was an accountant, so I call it my tax season. It's a really wonderful time to culminate the year as a synagogue, as a community, and to celebrate the high holy days together. And so I really, really look forward to it.
Do you have a memory of either Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, either from your childhood or earlier adult years, that stands out to you?
Rosh Hashanah, it's always been, and as far as I go, I cannot celebrate it without all the food that we have to have on the table. We need to have like a fish with a head that's cooked, pomegranate, green bean, and salad, and something really specific. For Yom Kippur, one of my fondest memory, and it's something we try to do here, even though we are the only family doing it, is at the end of Yom Kippur, before just the cantor blow or whoever blows a shofar, we cover ourselves, like the whole family is under a talit.
One of my most recent memories is I flew back to Chicago and took my 89 and 91-year-old parents to services at the temple I grew up in too for Yom Kippur last year. And my mom's in a wheelchair, so it was quite moving for me to be there with my parents.
I remember going to services, and when I was going to synagogue, and when I was a kid, I used to go to the children's program and the babysitting, and I used to wait until I was old enough, I think it was 7 years old, to be able to sit in the sanctuary with the grown-ups. I know. And then I have another memory of sitting in services with my parents and family friends from the congregation and having the shoulder pads from men's suits, usually my dad's, to lean on and sleep on when I would fall asleep because it was so long and I was a little kid. But I remember being there and seeing people that I didn't see all year long. And so just being at services, but then also the family gatherings before and after services as well. And of course, the food and the meals.
I have many different memories of growing up. I grew up in an Ashkenazic synagogue in Palos Verdes, but my heritage is actually Sephardic, which means the origins are kind of in Spain and Greece. A lot of memories are kind of some of the different traditions that the Sephardic heritage had in terms of food. You know, where in Hebrew school we would always have apples and honey. My family, we would have something called dulce, which was basically cooked apples with sugar and water. And in the Rosh Hashanah meal, we would all pass around the dulce around the table and take a spoon of the dulce to kind of honor having a sweet year for the year ahead, but kind of in a community, family kind of setting. And one of the other great memories in terms of the food that my kids, I love watching them run into Grandma's kitchen wanting to get something called pastelikus. Actually, I have a little picture so I can show you what they are, if that's okay. So these little things here, and they're made of a pastry dough, which it's basically kind of a sweet dough but filled with ground meat and parsley and onions and hard-boiled egg, and it's kind of that savory taste, but a really kind of special memory. And I know growing up we would always kind of run into the kitchen to see who could get to the pastelikus the fastest, and now my kids do the same thing. So.
I would say a really great memory that I have is through the years of when we have celebrated the High Holy Days, I always wanted to have really fun break the fast, and I did that last year with our Havara, the Blue Judas, and it was just really a wonderful time to get together after the High Holy Days and be able to celebrate with good friends and my family.
When I say Rosh Hashanah, what do you think of?
For me, we got new clothes for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We always got new clothes. So it was about going and shopping, and, it was exciting because we didn't just get new clothes. We always got new clothes around holidays.
Well, I remember my mom always talking about the power of that time of year and how it's a new beginning. And we were always so busy getting ready for the start of the new school year and getting ready for the High Holy Days, but it all seemed to fit in place, and it all seemed to make sense that it was at that time of year that the new school year would start and we would start fresh.
I think of new beginnings, like I said before, and apples and honey.
For me, it always seems like it's a return back to school, or kind of renewal, so to speak. I also think of the beginning of a 10-day period of kind of thought, and in my mind I always think about the messages I got in Hebrew school around needing to ask for forgiveness during this time of year. So.
After fasting all day on Yom Kippur, what did it feel like to break the fast?
The break of the fast felt good because I usually had a headache.
I'm not a big breakfast eater, but as the day goes on, usually around 4 or 5 o'clock is pretty tough for me. So the hardest part also is, I think, is just not having any water. Your mouth gets very dry, and so it's very welcome when you see the sun go down.
I like to break the fast, here in the outside. In this temple, this is the way we do it. We break the fast, have a little bit too much on, but not too much, because then we go to some very good friends to break the fast at their house. And growing up, I had some very specific food to break the fast. We were doing a reverse day and start with coffee, and then have a little break, and the table will be covered with dessert, and then we'll have a meal.
Can you describe the food you associate with Rosh Hashanah? What does it taste like? What does it look like? What does it smell like?
I associate Rosh Hashanah with the round challah. And it's very sweet, and it's got raisins in it usually. So that's what I think of. Number one, golden round challah with raisins.
You had the apple, you had the pomegranate, we always had couscous with some vegetables on it, and we always had fish. The head of the fish also was presented on the plate for the head of the year, the new year, and a lot of delicious food.
In our family, it always seems insane the amount of food that there is. There's brisket, and then there's some fish, and it's how many meals do we need to have? But definitely in our family, it's really about the family meals at Rosh Hashanah, that we have 2 nights of family dinners in a row, both for Erev Rosh Hashanah and then the night leading into the second day of Rosh Hashanah as well.
What does the Yom Kippur break fast look like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like to you?
My mom was from American background, and years and years and years ago, instead of having milk, they would take some egg yolk and beat it with sugar, and they would put some coffee in it, and it sounds kind of yucky, but it's really good.
Break the fast, the food is typically more of a light food. You're not going to have a brisket. It would be more I would think dairy-based. I make a really good French toast souffle that you can make the day before, so you don't have to be cooking when you're fasting. So just light and kind of more comfort foods.
Well, in our family, we always had this wonderful soup that my mother and grandmother made, and that I now make. And it's we always had dairy, no meat, and the soup is a big project and worth every moment. And it's the most delicious soup we've ever had, we think. We never have it at any other time of the year.
It's such a big project. It's only once a year. It's only on Yom Kippur, and we're always so hungry when it's time to eat. We don't actually know. But I remember growing up being around in the afternoon while my mom was finishing up the soup. She made most of it before Yom Kippur, and because I was the kid, I got to be the taster. So she would stir and add the milk and add some salt, and then I always got to be the one to even when I started fasting, I was the one, I would break my fast tasting the soup to make sure it had the right amount of salt.
It was always good, wasn't it? It was always
Still
good.
is.
Other than food, are there any elements of your High Holy Day meals that have become tradition in your home? Any ritual items or serving pieces or any family heirlooms?
I like to use, my mom gave me candlestick that came from her mom, and so I don't even know where they come from, but I like to have those light up. They're silver candle, they're very simple, but you look at them and you know that they're not new. I mean, they've been here, there's some dent here and there. They went from generation to generation, at least 3 generations. So yes, for High Holy Day, I like to use candle and light up those candlesticks.
I try to use my grandma's silverware that I have. I try to use my parents' or grandparents' serving pieces or silverware. I've got my grandma and grandpa's silverware that I always use, usually for the high holidays and Jewish holidays. I have some candlesticks that were given to me by my parents that I use. I also have a fish serving piece that my mother-in-law gave me. She's saying to me that I would appreciate using it for holidays. And I make an effort to make the recipes, too, that are comfort foods for me.
I have a challah cover that is special for the high holidays. And my grandmother made it. And it's been in the family for years. And I only use it on the high holidays. And then I also just associate some of the table linens that have been in my family for a while. They're special linens for the holiday table. So I would say it's still connected with food, but they're items. They're ritual items to me.
The meal that we always had to begin the fast, the last meal we had before the fast, was always very simple, and we just used our kitchen dishes. As a matter of fact, when I was a child, we used to eat that meal in the kitchen. And so it was very simple. And then to break the fast, we always had our nice things out because we always had people over and still do.
When Doug, my husband, first met my parents, the very first time he came over to their house, he brought this little glass dish with a spoon. And now every year it's my mom's tradition that when she puts out, apples and honey in addition to the dulce, she always makes sure she serves it in the glass dish with the spoon that Doug gave to her. So I always kind of look at her, and it's kind of like that nice smile, just kind of like nice way of welcoming and having Doug be a part of the family, that he's been brought into the family traditions. So.
Well, because I am a Jew by choice, I have accumulated things a little bit each year. And one of the things that I've done for my family is I like to kind of keep things interesting. And so for Rosh Hashanah, we do a different theme from a different part of the world. So wherever we've gone that summer, we will get honey, and then that will be the theme for the upcoming Rosh Hashanah dinner. So the theme that we have here is from Tahiti, brought Tahitian honey home, and then I serve it with apples, and I kind of get things that look like it might be from the place. And so every year it's a little bit different. I like to try and create traditions for my kids so that they have very fond, great memories of growing up Jewish.
No one spends the Jewish high holy days the same. Whatever it is you do, whatever brings you closer to home, make sure to enjoy it. After all, holidays are what you make of them. Lashana Tova. Have a sweet new year.